Fatality.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode number 388 of the UFO Buster Radio News. I am your host, Manny, and today is the Thursday Freakout, which we have at 10 p.m. Central every Thursday. But we actually have a special guest today that's here to talk about a film that, if you're interested in looking at the trailer for, it is listed in the description for this particular episode. But let me read you a quick synopsis of the film, and it goes like this. The king of rock and roll from outer space has blasted into Vegas from the far side of the universe to compete in an Elvis impersonation contest with the best in town. But just as he is on the verge of victory, he mysteriously vanishes. Who's behind the disappearance? The mafia, the CIA, or could it be the aliens he left behind? Welcome to the show, Tracy Wuischpard, the director and writer of the film.
Hi.
Listen, it's great to have you here. When I got the information for the film, I said, this is a fascinating topic, especially when it comes to aliens. It's not something you hear very much regarding Elvis, putting Elvis into any of this. But the film is called Elvis from Outer Space, and just looking at your bio, you have an extensive history in music.
I do. I went to art school in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and there was a great punk rock scene there. I had a band called The Shakes, and we were, famous in a tiny kind of way.
No, it's fantastic, because I'm looking through this bio and I'm like, it's amazing that this film has that alien undertone in it, but there is music. I mean, who else better to represent music than the guy with the hip shaking, Elvis, and what a sound he had back in the day, and people still follow him today. People love Elvis still today. Now, you said you had a band back in the day, the Shakes. Later, they became the Combo Tactic.
Combo Tactic, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that is something else. So, tell us about the band. How did it come together?
Oh, well, we, let's see. One of the members of the band, Hugh Eston, he actually was the one who started the band, had spent the summer in New York that year. I guess that was like 1970, 78. 77. He'd gone to CBGB's and seen Talking Heads and the Ramones and Blondie and Television, the Dead Boys, wow. And came back to school all fired up, and I played instruments and he needed somebody to teach him how to play the guitar. And there were a couple other people who were interested in doing it. And so, we started writing a bunch of songs and playing at house parties, which were amazing. That was an amazing scene in Pittsburgh, those parties. There are these fantastically huge houses there in Pittsburgh. They have some great housing stock from the Iron City days, when they were a steel town.
Right, yes.
So it's also like a town with a lot of schools, Pitt and Chatham. I think there are like 5 universities all piled right up on top of each other. And so there was a fantastic population of really bright and interesting young people. So it made for a very energetic and interesting scene.
So you attended Carnegie-Mellon University?
Yes.
And so while at Carnegie-Mellon, you took on filmmaking and painting?
Yeah, I started out as a painting student, and I actually also auditioned for the drama department, but I didn't get in there, but I did get in as a painter. And but I had a great interest in filmmaking and conceptual and performance art, and so Pittsburgh Filmmakers was happening there at the time. So people from CMU who were interested in filmmaking were going down there and taking classes, and I took a film history class at Pitt. Just tried to kind of make my own way, with what I was interested in at the time.
Right.
So
Yeah.
then I went on to become an editor, actually, because of that.
Yeah. So, and that's around the time that you left Pittsburgh, like in the early '80s, huh?
Yeah. Well, we stayed there. I was there for 4 years. We stayed an extra year. And then the band sort of reformed, and three of us went on to San Francisco from there. So we hopped in a van and drove across the country like 24 hours a day. It was hysterical. We rotated. There was a mattress in the back of the van. So one person would sleep, one person would drive, and the other person would be the map reader. And so that's how we made our way across the country. And
right. GPS was not that big back then.
No, it wasn't. We had to actually look at a map and figure out, and yell at each other. No, not now.
You went the wrong way.
Yeah, exactly. But
we made hilarious.
It. Yeah.
So now you're in California, and in your bio it says that you worked on a documentary regarding Michael Jackson. Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh gosh. Well, I was one of the editors on that show, and it was Michael Jackson, The Legend Continues. It was a cable documentary. I'm trying to remember if it was on HBO. I don't remember what channel it was on anymore, but it was fabulous. I got to watch tons of home movies from the Jacksons. I saw Michael Jackson in the bathtub with his brothers when they were little babies. And I don't know, I was the person who was kind of going through piles and piles of home movies and photographs, and that was a really fun project to do. Actually, it was fantastic.
Yeah, honestly, when I saw that in the bio, I was like, I know I've seen this. I've seen this. It's been a few years, but I remember seeing this.
Yeah, no, it was great. The main editor on that was Glenn Morgan, who's a fantastic editor and a great guy. And I used to work out of his edit facility, and got pulled onto that project. We had a great time doing that.
So while you were wrapping this up, were you at that point looking towards mainly getting into film, or did you? Because it sounds like you still have a very good foundation in music. So do you ever at a point where you're like, should I just do all music? Should I just do all film? What do I do?
Well, I made my living as an editor, so had to. There came a point I always played music in San Francisco. I played music and I waitressed while I was living there, and there just came this day where I just couldn't stand another guy pat me on the butt or give me $25 tip, and I don't know. It was just it got to me after a while. So I decided that I had to actually have a real career. So a friend of mine hooked me up with Larry Bridges at Red Car Editing down in Los Angeles. And Larry was a pretty big deal commercial editor. So I went down there and became he became my mentor, and I learned the whole the high-end commercial editing at that point from him. So that was a really lucky break for me. He was a wonderful teacher, and I became the person who did all of the technical arrangements and ran the sessions at the big post houses, doing the telecine, which is the transfer of film to video, and supervising the mixes and color correcting. And back in the day, they did something called Paintbox, which was kind of a digital a fixing system where if a piece of film had a hair in the frame, you could paint it out in Paintbox, or if something was just needed to be a different color, or you wanted to hide something, you could do that digitally. So I used to run those sessions for all the big commercials that we were doing for Burger King and Pepsi, and we actually worked on that that Pepsi spot where Michael Jackson's hair caught on
No.
fire. Yeah.
That was after the documentary, huh?
That was actually the documentary. The Michael Jackson documentary.
Yes.
I think that was like a little bit before that, actually, because I was at Red Car, and then afterward I worked with Glenn. So yeah.
Wow. Talk about the full experience, Michael Jackson.
Yeah, right. It was amazing. Could watch the footage frame by frame and see, exactly how all of that happened. That was with Joe Pica directed that spot.
Mm-hmm. No way to digitize that out of there, was there?
Poor Michael.
I know, it's terrible.
Remember he was taking that, what was it called? Propofol? Is that propofol, the drug that they used to give him so that he could sleep?
Yes, I remember seeing that. Yeah.
Yeah, and people were real judgy about that with him, but I actually had a nerve injury to my head, and had a lot of pain like in my scalp for a long time, and I knew what it was to not be able to lay my head down on a pillow and sleep because it hurt. And so with burns all over his scalp, I imagine that he must have had incredible nerve pain that never left him. So in order to be able to sleep, I could completely see how he needed something like that.
But he just had so much energy. I could imagine that you would need something to slow him down, because it looked like he was always going, just constantly on, like he never shut off.
Yeah, I think he vibrated at a high frequency.
He sure did.
No.
So I'm looking at your bio, and the one thing I don't see is that one element that would kind of make the synopsis for the movie work for me, and that is aliens. What's your interest in the topic?
I had a band called Aliens for a while.
Oh, there you go.
Called Earthlings. My band was called Earthlings, and we did a lot of like outer space graphics and stuff.
Okay.
But actually, I have a UFO sighting story.
Oh, perfect! You came to the right place, by the way.
Yeah. Well, I guess so. I know when I saw that I was going to be talking to you, I was like, oh, this is interesting. I haven't really told a lot of people about this, but I was warned off of it by one of my friends. Don't ever speak of this.
Right. We won't tell. We won't tell.
So now that I'm on with you, I actually saw one in Pittsburgh. Let's see. I'll look down a little bit about this here so I can remember where I was. I was crossing over the Shenley Bridge, which is over Panther Hollow, kind of between Carnegie-Mellon and Pittsburgh Museum, and the Carnegie Museum. And I was going to a lecture there that evening, and there's like a power generating plant down that gulch that had these big chimneys, like 2 or 3 really tall chimneys coming out of the gulch. And I was on the bridge looking down into the gulch, and I saw these they were like white balls of light, and they were kind of in the gully, swooping, like it looked like play. They would go up and down the sides of the gully, and then around spiraling around the chimneys, and then straight up into the sky so fast, like they moved in ways that didn't make any sense to me. Really fast. They could move and then be still, move so quickly, and then move up into the sky so quickly that it didn't even seem possible.
Did it leave like an impression on you, I assume?
Yeah, it sure did. I was by myself, and I told a couple of people about it, but I think they thought I was crazy. But I've never hallucinated anything before.
Right. Now we hear that a lot, especially, and we actually had a director last month who also had that interest, in UFOs, had a sighting, and it kind of stayed with him, and it kind of, I don't know, it kind of bled over. His sighting kind of bled over into his work, and I assume that's somewhat what's happening here in this film for you.
Well, actually, the film came to me as a whole film. It was brought to me by the exec producers at Joba, and they wanted to turn it into something else. Mm-hmm. So I had this film, with Elvis and aliens and the CIA already, and then we kind of took it one step beyond. Or many steps beyond, actually. Many steps beyond.
So how did the film evolve from the initial, I guess, the initial storyline to what we're going to see on July the 7th?
Well, Joba wanted to make the film a little bit more family-friendly, just... strengthen the story. They weren't really sure about how to go about it. So we watched it and made a proposal about how we might go about doing that. And in the process, we cut away half of what they had and made a shorter version of the film. They wanted to expand it. And so we ended up writing more scenes, and that meant more aliens.
Right. Of course. So
we did. We ended up making. Initially, they had very little, just kind of hints of alien presence, but we actually made 3D animated aliens and really brought them more into the story. So they're part of the drama now in a way that they weren't before.
So in your cast, we have George Thomas, who is a real Elvis impersonator.
Yeah. He actually, did you see that I think it's State Farm, the commercial for State Farm? George, they did a whole bunch of Elvises in Vegas, and George actually got some lines in that.
Oh, that is fantastic.
Yeah, right.
In the trailer, he looks like he's really into this movie. But is it his first acting credit?
Oh gosh, I don't really know. It may be. I know he does a lot of as an Elvis impersonator. He's a very popular Elvis impersonator, and so he does lots of private parties for the mega rich and travels around the world doing this sort of thing.
That's fantastic.
Not just contests, but kind of on a very high level. George,
amazing. like I said, when I saw the trailer, I was like, even if I wasn't into aliens, just being into Elvis, it's a great movie to watch. Because it brings him back.
Yeah, well, I think that this movie actually has a lot of love for the real Elvis, but it's really a story about Elvis impersonators. A whole bunch of a ragtag band of Elvis impersonators, and it talks about Elvis in a kind of a reverent way. There's love for him, which I liked about it. I wanted the movie to be kind to Elvis and loving about him.
So in the trailer, I kind of thought I saw Andrew Dice Clay in there somewhere. Is he in there somewhere?
No.
Or was I mistaken?
Yeah, no, he's not in there. But that's an interesting sighting.
Yeah, there you go. Who needs Tupac? We got Andrew Dice Clay. Now, there is another actor in here, which many people will recognize, and that is Martin Kove. How was it working with Martin Kove?
Oh, yeah, he was delightful, actually. he's such a presence on the screen. You know, he plays a cop. He doesn't do a lot. He's got like a what do you call it? A vignette? You know, he's got a great little. Sorry, my phone is ringing there. He plays a traffic cop who pulls over our band of Elvises, a car full of Elvises, as they're trying to escape to the next location. And I don't know, he's interested in them and what they've got going on. He's very funny. He did a great job with it.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, Martin is actually the head instructor in the Karate Kid films for the Cobra Kai Karate School, and he was also, what I was reading, he was in First Blood 2, Rambo. I don't even remember him being. I'm gonna have to go back and get the film and look at it. I don't even remember him being in there, but fantastic. Anyone that was into the karate films back in the 80s is gonna know Martin Kove in his little appearance in here. So that's fantastic to see he was in there. So the film comes out on July the 7th?
Yeah, right after the 4th of July weekend. And actually, it's going to be on Apple TV, and you can pre-order it now, which is kind of exciting. So Apple TV and Amazon Prime and a bunch of other places, it's really getting wide distribution, and I think they're going to do international distribution for this as well.
So it looks like we actually have a live chat going on right now on Spreaker.com. It's where we play live initially, and we have some questions in here. And there was a question about the Brooklyn Navy Yards.
We have our studios at the Brooklyn Navy Yard. But who's asking that? That's curious.
Well, actually, your bio is in the description for the podcast, so I guess they read it while we were talking on here. And they're saying, is that like a rough side of town of Brooklyn? It's a crazy question, I know.
Yeah, no. Actually, the Navy Yard is a super, super cool thing. The city of New York took over, this old military facility and basically turned it into a site that supports new businesses, young businesses, and innovation. And they do a lot to try to employ people from the area and to also to upgrade the facilities in the area. They had this whole run of old houses that they called Admiral's Row. They were, housing for the officers once upon a time that had gone to sea, and they were all kind of collapsing, and they ended up having to raise a lot of those buildings. But what they did do was they built a massive grocery store in what was once a food desert. So they've done so much for the community, and also for artists. We're there as artists in Building 30, which is a building of all artists, and we've been there for 16 years now.
Wow, that is amazing. And actually, I was born and raised in New York, so Brooklyn was one of the places that I used to go hang out with the friends back in the day. I'm in Texas now, but
where'd you go in Brooklyn?
Everywhere. Anywhere the train would take us, we'd end up somewhere at a party or a block party or something like that. That was way back when.
Well, Brooklyn is so happening now. It's a great place to be, and we love it here. The Navy Yard is fantastic. We could just hop on a bus and be there in like 20 minutes from our house. It's just like a fantastic place.
So here's a question. An Elvis film isn't really an Elvis film without Elvis music or Elvis type music. Tell us about the music in this film.
Oh, well, I did send you some pieces. Can you play any of them?
Yeah, we're going to play some at the end of the podcast as the outro. So folks will be able to listen to 2 clips from the audio clips that you sent as from the songs. And I can tell you right now which my favorite is and that's the "Rocking Your World." I
Yeah,
love that song.
Well, that's the one I was going to ask you. It's only it's like a minute long.
Mm-hmm.
You could, anyway, that clip is a good example of the music that was written by Neil Silverman. This film was originated by Marv and Neil Silverman, brothers, who were huge Elvis fans. And Neil had written a bunch of songs for Elvis, and they made a demo, and they brought the songs to Graceland, where they had a meeting with Vernon, who was Elvis's dad, and he apparently was one of the people who chose music for him. And he had they were going to give him the tape, and then they decided at the last second that they pull it back because they wanted to do a little bit of a better demo. And then they were never able to actually get back to him, get a tape into his hands after that. So it was kind of a sad story. And I guess Marv wanted to use those songs, so he wrote this film in order to give those songs a place to be.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So they had them recorded by, I don't know his name, but he's a very famous Elvis impersonator. He really has the voice. And so he recorded the songs, and they really made some great recordings. And they used his performances of these songs as the lip sync numbers for the Elvis impersonators in this contest of Elvis impersonators in the film. So it's funny, like they have all of these different guys doing their Elvis impersonations. And when people watch the film, they're like, "Oh, this guy's a better singer than that last guy."
Right.
They like this, and like the same guy sings all the songs.
Oh, that is hilarious. That is hilarious.
Impersonators, like sometimes they really get you going. Like, George is a fantastic dancer, right? Just amazing. And David Hebner's got he's got his own thing going on with the Elvis impersonation, very dramatic. They even had a Filipino Elvis. It's kind of he's fantastic. So I'm looking for. Oh yeah, his name is. Oh no, that's not him. I wrote his name down, but now I can't find it. But they did have a fantastic actor doing the Filipino Elvis. I just thought the music was fantastic, and I hope people stick around to hear some of the songs, because they really have the vibe, They really
do.
Vibe.
Yes, I can agree to that. Definitely has that Elvis vibe to it. As a matter of fact, we can actually play one right now for the folks to listen to, and I'll play "Rocking Your World." Actually,
it's just a piece, a clip.
Yeah, a quick clip, and here it is.
Doesn't really matter, you're the kind that is able to take my life to places I've never known. Every time I see you, I'm out of control. My temperature's rising, I'm stuck on gold. Let's go, hell, rock me, baby. I know you're ready. Come a little closer, clear out of sight. Come on, baby, I'm rocking your world tonight.
And that's a clip, "Rocking Your World." It is, it's the song that really reminds me of the Elvis that I like. The hip shaking, karate chopping, kicking, that's the Elvis I like. The Love Me Tender guy, that's not me. I can't deal with that guy. But this Elvis in this song, fantastic.
yeah, I guess the guys like the energetic rock and Elvis, but you gotta, leave something in there for the ladies.
Right. And we do have those type of songs in there as well. So the one that I'll play at the end of the podcast is the best for you. And really the clip ends the way I like it to end. He's basically saying, I'm the best for you.
That's
in the song. Yeah, it's classic. It is classic. I do have two more questions that we have from Pucky in the live chat. He's asking how long did it take to make the film, and how much time did it take to edit?
Oh well, as I said, we got this as a film that had, that was already kind of whole, but not really complete. So people had worked on it for years before we got it, but it took us about 4.5 years to rewrite and remake it. We did a huge amount of animation. We wrote music for it. We did shoots remotely. So I directed shoots that we did in Pennsylvania via FaceTime. So I had a PA carrying around an iPad with my head on it.
There you go.
And we were doing a green screen shoot in Pennsylvania with Barry Ratcliffe, who, by the way, is fantastic in this movie as Barry Live. He's a television host who follows the action of the film. And it's a kind of outrageous character, and so about 4.5 years after it was already made once. So I'm not sure how many years they put in before we got a hold of it.
Right. So he has a second question, and that is: do you still drink? Wow. Do you still drink from City Brew?
Do I still drink from City Brew?
Yeah. Like I said, they read your bio, so.
That sounds like a Pittsburgher. No.
Oh, that's hilarious. Like I said, the live crew here, they go through the entire description, and they see the things that might tickle their fancy as far as knowing information about. So we have this film together. It is here, July the 7th. It's coming out. How does the team feel about the film? The end product.
We're very happy with it. We had such a good time working on it. We really pleased with the music, and it seems that the guys at Joba have I don't know, they're very sweet on it. They're happy with the way the story turned out, and I have to say we tried to really highlight the writer director Marv Silverman, who we lost Marv, I guess, about 6 months ago, which is very sad that he didn't get to see his film cross the finish line. But Marv is a really talented comic actor and plays one of the heavy, fat Elvis impersonators with such aplomb, and I hope people appreciate him as much as we learn to appreciate him. He does one scene where Marv doesn't have a lot of hair, and he put like black shoe polish on the top of his head as a kind of color toupee. Right.
I'm trying to picture that.
Oh my God! Yeah, no, you'll see it in the film. Marv wasn't afraid to get out there and be completely ridiculous, and he did some amazing things in this film as a comedian. So hats off to Marv.
Absolutely. So, Tracy, last word for you as far as the show. What do you want people to know about the film? And really, just sell us on why this film should be on the list for after July the 4th. Something for us to watch.
Well, I think it's something that's just a complete lark, something fun and light, and psychedelic. If you go for that sort of thing, we try to take it really, as I said, one step beyond, and I think that makes it interesting. And there's so much great music in this movie. So many wonderful comic performances from those Elvises, and a lot of crazy ass alien action. You don't want to miss it.
That's right. So one last question before we let you go, and it was fantastic having you here. Do you believe in extraterrestrial life?
Well, I told you I saw some kind of UFO, so I would say, yeah, something was doing that, and I don't know what. So,
thank you for being on the podcast today. We really appreciate it. I know the guys in the live chat, they love reading through your bio and and pulling out all the quirky things that are in there. The link for the trailer is in the description. Folks, don't forget, July 7th, it is released on video on demand and digital. You can see the film Elvis from Outer Space. Tracy, I thank you for coming on board. Oh, by the way, you do have a future project. Almost forgot that. This one has to do with zombies.
Yeah, we've got a script script all finished up right now. That we're just about ready to shop. So, yeah, it features zombies and drug company executives, military, police, all kinds of exciting action in the zombie world of Palmdale, California. Oh, yeah, and the Latino gay scene.
There you go. We can't wait to hear about that one.
Yeah. I just want to remind people one more time.
Sure.
They can pre-order on Apple TV right now.
Fantastic. Tracy, thank you so much for joining us today. And feel free to come back whenever you're ready to promote your zombie film with the gay Latinos.
I'll call you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
It's great talking to you. Thank you so much.
Great talking to you. There you go, folks. That was Tracy Wuischpard from the film that I know most of you are going to want to check out, Elvis from Outer Space. We're going to play one more song, and we'll come back for some live action. In case anyone else wants to call in, the number is 972-290-1329, because it is the Thursday Freakout. So let me just play this song for you while we get ready for that.
Can another lie.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was the interview with Tracy Wuischpard. You know what I'm saying. This is a live episode. UFO Buster Radio News. Our guest is gone, but the film is still going to be there on July the 7th. So check it out. I'm trying to get some links for the Apple pre-order. If you guys want to check that out, I know I do. Believe it or not. Yeah, I like Elvis. I like the hip-shaking crazy man that we know throws those karate chops and kicks. Now, somebody said, is there going to be a live freakout today? So we can call in. I have a feeling that we might not get any more call-ins. So this might be the end of the podcast. But there is an article that continues to make the rounds when it comes to alien life somewhere else. Yeah, it's still happening. People are still looking towards a particular solar system that is 11 light years away. We actually went through this story last week, and apparently they are trying right now to find out where in the blazes is the third planet in that solar system, and there is a lot of research going on to try to get there, so that they can figure out, is there really a super Earth around this particular star? It is G887, because all indications right now, preliminary-wise, is showing that there is another super Earth in the same Goldilocks zone that our planet is in, around this particular dwarf star. 11 light years away only. What a fantastic find that would be. I mean, seriously, it literally would only take 22 years to get an answer back from that planet, for the love of Pete. At least it won't take a lifetime like some of these other planets that they've been finding in their searches. That is the issue right now. They are going to try to triangulate a couple of the telescopes out there, the really big ones, in order to figure out if this particular planet that's around G887, that it looks like it actually makes it around the star itself in about 50 Earth days. So we're trying to find out right now, is that going to be a real thing? Is that really the closest of the Goldilocks planets that could possibly support life? The James Webb Space Telescope is going to be looking at that pretty soon. So we might have an answer. It is much better than trying to figure out if a planet that's like 3 billion light years away is out there breathing nonsense, smoking doobies, futuristic kind. But this one is a lot closer. It doesn't look like we'll have anyone calling in, sadly enough. But there's always next week. Next Thursday, the Thursday Night Freakout will return. We may or may not have a guest. That's the truth. But these things happen at the last minute. And I can tell you, I am more than happy to bring people that have stories that have to do with UFOs, aliens, or whatever, or even Elvis, to the podcast. Because why not? I am Manny Moonraker. I am checking out. I thank you guys for coming in, listening, and giving someone an opportunity to present to you a different perspective in the UFO story. Ciao.
desperation, have to do it all to survive the nightfall. When you fight against the time and you're about to lose your mind, it's easy to cross the line. There's no answer as to why when you look death in the eye. Either you live or you die. You live or you die. You live or you die. You're killing me, you're killing me, you're killing me. Can't have enough, you're killing me, you're killing me, you're killing me. Can't have enough, you're killing me, you're killing me, you're killing me. When you fight against the time and you're about to lose your mind, it's easy to cross the line. There's no answer as to why when you look death in the eye. Either you live or you die. You live or you die. You live or you die. Live or you die.
I see you're packing up your things. You're getting ready to leave. So you ask me how I'm feeling. I'd be doing better if you were gonna stay. I saw you standing in the park with him, holding hands so nice and caressing. I know you think he's gonna show you a better way, but baby, I want the best for you. You know that I do. Yes, I want the best for you. Baby, you know that it's true. I just wish that you would stop and listen, baby. 'Cause the best for you, girl, is me.